Section 110.3 of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates that the equipment for general use must be listed and labeled. This requirement ensures that electrical equipment has been tested and certified by a nationally recognized testing laboratory, or NRTL, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or The listing and labeling indicate that the equipment meets specific safety standards. Section 110.3 addresses equipment intended for use under special conditions. Such equipment must be identified for its specific purpose. This applies to items like equipment used in hazardous locations requiring specialized labeling to ensure appropriate application and safety. When a contractor installs fixtures that are not tested by a third-party NRTL, like UL, it raises concerns about compliance with NEC Section 110.3. Even if a local building inspector passes the electrical inspection, it does not automatically validate the unlisted fixtures. The inspector's approval does not override the fundamental requirement for equipment to be listed and labeled by an NRTL. The local building authority's role is to enforce the NEC within their jurisdiction. While inspectors assess electrical installations for workmanship and apparent hazards, they are not equipped or authorized to act as a third-party testing agency. Their inspection is a visual assessment and does not constitute certification of equipment safety or compliance with NEC standards. The ultimate responsibility for ensuring compliance with the NEC rests with the electrical contractor. This includes obtaining equipment that is listed and labeled by an NRTL and installing it according to the code specifications. Contractors must verify that all electrical equipment used in their installations meets the necessary safety standards and bears the appropriate markings. To further elaborate on the roles and responsibilities, it's crucial to distinguish between the functions of an NRTL and a local building inspector. NRTLs, such as UL, Intertek, CSA Group, and others, operate independently to test and certify electrical equipment. Their testing processes involve rigorous evaluations of product safety, performance, and adherence to established standards. When equipment passes these tests, the NRTL provides a listing and label, signifying that the product meets the required safety criteria. Local building inspectors, on the other hand, are employed by municipalities or other governmental bodies to enforce building codes, including the NEC. Their inspections primarily focus on the proper installation of electrical systems and equipment. Inspectors verify that wiring methods, grounding techniques, overcurrent protection, and other aspects of the installation comply with code requirements. However, they typically do not have the resources or expertise to conduct in-depth product testing. Therefore, an inspector's approval of an installation does not supersede the requirement for equipment to be listed and labeled by an NRTL. Consider a scenario where a contractor installs recessed lighting fixtures purchased from a non-traditional source, and these fixtures lack a UL or other NRTL listing. During the electrical inspection, the inspector observes that the wiring connections are properly made, the fixtures are securely mounted, and the branch circuit is protected by an appropriately sized circuit breaker. The inspector may pass the installation based on these visual observations. However, the absence of a listing label on the fixtures means that they have not been subjected to independent testing to verify their safety and performance. The fixtures could potentially pose a fire hazard due to overheating, insulation breakdown, or other unforeseen issues. In this case, the contractor has failed to meet their responsibility to ensure that all equipment used in the installation complies with the NEC. The inspector's approval of the installation does not absolve the contractor of this responsibility. If the fixtures were later found to be defective or unsafe, the contractor could be held liable for any damages or injuries that result. It is important for contractors to understand the significance of listing and labeling requirements and to take steps to ensure that all equipment they use is compliant with the NEC. This includes verifying that equipment bears the mark of an NRTL and that it is installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and the applicable code provisions. Additionally, contractors should maintain records of equipment purchases and certifications to demonstrate their compliance with the NEC. Furthermore, it is helpful to understand the consequences of using unlisted or unlabeled equipment. Firstly, insurance companies may deny coverage for losses or damages that result from the use of non-compliant equipment. Secondly, manufacturers' warranties may be voided if their products are installed in a manner that violates the NEC. Thirdly, legal liabilities can arise if someone is injured or property is damaged as a result of using unlisted equipment. Fourthly, regulatory authorities can impose fines or other penalties for code violations. To avoid these potential issues, contractors should always prioritize the use of listed and labeled equipment. When selecting electrical products, look for the mark of an NRTL. This mark indicates that the product has been tested and certified to meet the applicable safety standards. Consult with suppliers and manufacturers to ensure that the equipment you are purchasing is compliant with the NEC. If you are unsure about the listing status of a particular product, contact the NRTL directly or consult the relevant product directories or online databases. Understanding the NEC requirements for listing and labeling is essential for electrical contractors, building inspectors, and other stakeholders in the electrical industry. By adhering to these requirements, we can help to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations and protect people and property from electrical hazards. Now, let's delve deeper into the specifics of the NEC sections related to this topic. Section 90.4 addresses enforcement. It states that the authority having jurisdiction, or OJ, is responsible for interpreting and enforcing the NEC. The AHA could be the local building inspector, electrical inspector, or other designated official. It is the AHA responsibility to determine whether an installation complies with the code. Section 100 defines terms used throughout the NEC. Some relevant definitions include equipment, which refers to a general term that includes materials, fittings, devices, appliances, luminaires, apparatus, and the like used as a part of or in connection with an electrical installation. Labeled, which means equipment or materials to which has been attached a label, symbol, or the identifying mark of an organization acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction and concerned with product evaluation, that maintains periodic inspection of production of labeled equipment or materials and by whose labeling the manufacturer indicates compliance with appropriate standards or performance in the specified manner. And listed, meaning equipment, materials, or services included in a list published by an organization that is acceptable to the authority having jurisdiction and concerned with evaluation of products or services, that maintains periodic inspection of production of listed equipment or materials or periodic evaluation of services, and whose listing states that the equipment, material, or services either meets appropriate designated standards or has been tested and found suitable for a specified purpose. Article 110 covers requirements for electrical installations. Section 110.2 states that the voltage shall not be higher than that for which the equipment is designed. Section 110.3 requires that listed and labeled equipment be used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing or labeling. Section 110.3b requires that equipment that is identified for a specific purpose, location, or application be installed and used in accordance with that identification. Section 110.14 provides requirements for electrical connections. Connections must be made so that the electrical continuity is maintained without overheating. Section 110.16 requires that electrical equipment be marked with the manufacturer's name, trademark, or other descriptive marking by which the organization responsible for the product may be identified. Section 110.21 requires that equipment be marked with its voltage, amperage, wattage, or other ratings as necessary. Section 110.22 requires that overcurrent protection devices be readily accessible. Section 110.24 provides requirements for the interrupting rating of overcurrent protection devices. The interrupting rating must be sufficient for the available fault current at the line terminals of the equipment. Chapter 2 of the NEC covers wiring and protection. Article 210 covers branch circuits. Section 210.8 provides requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection. GFCI protection is required in dwelling units in locations such as bathrooms, kitchens, garages, and outdoor areas. Article 225 covers outside branch circuits and feeders. Section 225.30 provides requirements for the number of feeders or branch circuits supplied to a building or other structure. Article 230 covers services. A service is the connection between the utility company's electrical system and the building's electrical system. Section 230.70 provides requirements for the location of the service disconnecting means. The service disconnecting means must be readily accessible. Chapter 3 of the NEC covers wiring methods and materials. Article 300 covers general requirements for wiring methods and materials. Section 300.4 provides requirements for protection against physical damage. Section 300.11 provides requirements for securing and supporting wiring. Article 310 covers conductors for general wiring. Section 310.15 provides requirements for ampacity of conductors. The ampacity of a conductor is the maximum current that it can carry continuously under specific conditions of use without exceeding its temperature rating. Article 314 covers outlet, device, pull, and junction boxes, conduit bodies, fittings, and handhole enclosures. Boxes must be sized appropriately for the number and size of conductors entering them. Article 320 covers armored cable, or AC. Armored cable is a type of cable that has a flexible metallic sheath. Article 330 covers metal-clad cable, or MC. Metal-clad cable is a type of cable that has a metallic sheath. Article 334 covers non-metallic sheath cable, or NM. Non-metallic sheath cable is a type of cable that has a non-metallic sheath. Article 344 covers rigid metal conduit, or RMC. Rigid metal conduit is a type of conduit that is made of metal and is threaded. Article 348 covers intermediate metal conduit, or IMC. Intermediate metal conduit is a type of conduit that is made of metal and is threaded but is lighter than RMC. Article 350 covers flexible metal conduit, or FMC. Flexible metal conduit is a type of conduit that is flexible. Article 352 covers rigid polyvinyl chloride conduit, or PVC. Rigid polyvinyl chloride conduit is a type of conduit that is made of plastic and is not threaded. Article 358 covers electrical metallic tubing, or EMT. Electrical metallic tubing is a type of conduit that is made of metal but is not threaded. Article 362 covers electrical non-metallic tubing, or ENT. Electrical non-metallic tubing is a type of conduit that is made of plastic and is flexible. Chapter 4 of the NEC covers equipment for general use. Article 400 covers flexible cords and cables. Section 400.8 provides restrictions on the use of flexible cords and cables. Flexible cords and cables must not be used as a substitute for the fixed wiring of a structure. Article 406 covers receptacles, cord connectors, and attachment plugs, or caps. Section 406.4 provides requirements for the installation of receptacles in damp or wet locations. Article 408 covers switchboards, switchgear, and panel boards. Section 408.36 provides requirements for the overcurrent protection of panel boards. Article 410 covers luminaires, lamp holders, and lamps. Section 410.4 provides requirements for the support of luminaires. Chapter 5 of the NEC covers special occupancies. Article 500 covers hazardous, or classified, locations. Hazardous locations are areas where there is a risk of fire or explosion due to the presence of flammable gases, vapors, liquids, or dusts. Article 517 covers healthcare facilities. Article 547 covers agricultural buildings. Article 550 covers mobile homes, manufactured homes, and mobile home parks. Chapter 6 of the NEC covers special equipment. Article 600 covers electric signs and outline lighting. Article 625 covers electric vehicle charging systems. Article 680 covers swimming pools, fountains, and similar installations. Chapter 7 of the NEC covers special conditions. Article 700 covers emergency systems. Article 701 covers legally required standby systems. Article 702 covers optional standby systems. Article 705 covers interconnected electric power production sources. Chapter 8 of the NEC covers communications systems. Article 800 covers communications circuits. Article 810 covers antenna systems. Article 820 covers community antenna television or CATV and radio distribution systems. Article 830 covers network-powered broadband communications systems. Chapter 9 of the NEC contains tables and examples. Table 310.15b16 provides ampacity ratings for insulated conductors rated up to 2000 volts, 60 degrees Celsius through 90 degrees Celsius. Annex A contains product safety standards. Annex B contains application information for ampacity calculation under engineering supervision. Annex C contains conduit and tubing fill calculations. Annex D contains examples. Annex E contains cross-reference tables. Annex F contains availability of adopted standards. Annex G contains administration and enforcement. Annex H contains administration and enforcement checklist. Annex I contains recommended forms for permit applications and inspections. Annex J contains model adoption ordinance. Understanding and applying these various sections and articles of the NEC is critical for ensuring safe and compliant electrical installations. It is the electrical contractor's duty to stay informed about code changes and updates and to implement them correctly in their work. The local building inspector serves as a vital part of this process, verifying compliance with the code, but their inspection does not substitute the requirement for equipment to be listed and labeled by NEC.